Getting fired feels like the end until you realize it's really just the beginning. What if that L you thought you took wasn't a loss but a lesson? What if this was the moment you stop playing by everybody else's rules and start writing your own? Well, welcome to the career villain era where you stopped being the nice girl in your career and started making moves on your own terms. Welcome to the Zanetta Show, where we empower women to stop waiting and start winning. I'm your host, Zanetta, and today we're talking about something most of us have feared at some point: getting fired. But here's the truth: losing your job is not the end of the story. In fact, for a lot of successful women, it was a push that they needed to step into their real purpose. To help me break this down, I'm joined by consultant Sonia Moore, who has helped countless women turn setbacks into comebacks. We're talking about how to bounce back, rebuild your confidence, and use corporate experience to level up, whether that means getting a better job, negotiating a bigger bag, or finally betting on yourself as an entrepreneur. This is not about revenge, it is about reinvention. And we are going to get into how we have turned a closed door into coins. Okay. If you've ever been let go, pushed out, or just felt stuck at a job that didn't serve you, this episode is for you. Make sure you are subscribed. And if you are watching on YouTube, drop a comment. What is one lesson you have learned from your career setback? Let's get into it. Hey y'all, I'm here with my next guest, Sonia L. Moore, CEO of Moore Planning and Consulting. And we are about to get into a topic that y'all like to talk about in private, on the phone to your besties, and maybe in your journal. But getting fired, having an untimely exit, whatever you want to call it, let's get into it. So today I am very excited to have you on. Hello, how are you?
Excited to be here. Hey, when I heard you were having this topic, and I just can't not even speak more. I'm like in awe. Like, this is something that people do not talk about a lot, and it leaves a lot of Black women in quandary about what does this mean about me? What is this? The confidence level. So I'm here to talk about my story, my experience, and hopefully it will help another woman just in general who is maybe masked with being fired or displaced or whatever we want to call it these days, because a lot of it, I'm just gonna keep it real, has to deal with intimidation, right?
We're about to talk about it.
Yes.
So, getting fired can feel like a personal failure. But what if it's the best thing that ever happened to you? So, in this episode, Sonia and I are going to break down how to move from devastation to domination. We're going to talk about turning setbacks into stepping stones, reclaiming your career power, and why getting fired is sometimes the push you need to finally bet on yourself. So, with that being said, what if getting fired was actually the best thing that ever happened to you? Okay, so welcome to the Zanetta Show, where I empower women to stop waiting and start winning in their life right now on their terms, right? The very first time I got fired, I worked at McDonald's in high school, and I was okay with that. Why? You got to get to the why. Why did I get fired? Because I was also running track. I was running track and I couldn't really make my shifts all the time. I got fired because my passion was somewhere else. And so when we look at that into a larger career perspective as an adult, sometimes your passion is bigger than what you may have space for in your life right now, and getting fired is what you need to be free. So let's get into that a little bit more. What are your thoughts?
I'm with it, especially when it's they want you to do something that you don't want to do, or you want to shape yourself into something different than they want you to fit in when you're not fitting in their box. I think that has a lot to do with that. Like, they have a schedule, they want you to do this. It's like, okay, I'm gonna do that, but I need some accommodations here or there. But at the end of the day, it's okay. Sometimes their decision, like you said, forces you to make a decision to bet on yourself, because we become wrapped up in what their cause and what they want, instead of
Mm-hmm.
taking a step back and saying, what is my light? What
Mm-hmm.
do I need to do? And that's similar to my situations. Have always been uncomfortable, right? I always have had an entrepreneurial spirit of wanting to lead and have my own. But there was always something there that I needed to attach myself to, right? Because I wanted to climb the corporate ladder. So I wanted the title, I wanted the money, and I had to work for those things. Those things were not given to me. I was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I was not born into having like these executive development programs, which are awesome, where you're handpicked. No, I had to fight my way through. I had to rise above and do all of the things. So when I got to corporate America and started climbing and start hitting these walls, I'm like, it's not about just doing what I need to do. There's like all these other things that I have to do too. Like, where was that in the playbook back in my day?
Yeah.
That wasn't that the playbook wasn't there. So making a decision and betting on me was one of the hardest decisions that I needed to make. And mine was masked as a, we're displacing you. Your position has been eliminated.
Mm-hmm.
But in fact, not to get too detailed,
Mm-hmm.
they actually had an ulterior motive.
Of course.
Let's just say that. But I've been around long enough to know something doesn't smell right.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't feel right. Let me raise the red flag and say, wait a minute, you need to explain this to me
Mm.
because I'm not understanding. My performance is on par. I'm doing everything that you're asking. I don't understand this shift that you're making to
Mm-hmm.
my career, to my life. What is that? They couldn't answer the question. And with that, I often fought for my team. And this is where I had to raise my hand and say, you know what, this one last fight is for me. I have to fight for me. And when I did that, some things went into motion. And what turned out to be a transfer ended up being, oh, you now have this option,
Mm.
which was severance. And I said, oh, I have an option now. Okay.
Thank you.
Understanding your own power, understanding the rules and the proper way to do things,
Mm-hmm.
right? People underestimating your ability. Let's just put it there.
Okay.
Let's just put it there. People underestimate your ability and underestimate what you know.
Mm-hmm.
And what they didn't know is that I've been around, I know processes. I am a process queen. I built some of the processes. And you're not following them, right? So, but as Black women, sometimes for me, they feel like, be in your place. I'm giving you this. You should settle for this. You know, this isn't the normal.
Mm-hmm.
So just take this and be glad you get it. And it was just like, no, there's more to this than that.
And that
And
is,
I had to demand it.
and I am so glad that that has been your experience and you are able to advocate for that, because
Mhm.
that moment where you are being told that this isn't working for us, there's no more alignment, this job doesn't exist, there is an emotional aftermath that happens in that process where
Yes.
Black women specifically are not only responsible, literally,
Hmm.
objectively, for so many things. So there's millions of things that cross your mind that are not just, how am I going to pay my bills, but wow, I'm not good enough. It impacts your self confidence, it impacts your worth, it impacts your identity, especially if you are a career climber. And I think that that is the most devastating part of an untimely
Yes.
departure, is the mental processing that has to occur after that, because you have
Yes.
to re-feel yourself in a way in which you are able to go back into workforce or entrepreneurship with a renewed sense of confidence in what you do and how you do it. There's so much shock, fear, and shame around, and stigma with being let go.
Honey,
I,
I went through all that.
yes, listen, my granddad used to say, bless Willie Lomax, he used to be
Mhm.
like, "Well, what job you at now?" Because I
Yeah.
would leave a job. I would leave a job
Hmm.
if it's not working for me. You know what? It's not working for me. I'm valuable. My
Hmm.
time here in life is limited. I can make some money somewhere else. But when
Hmm.
you're not on the side of choice, it is different. So talk to me a little bit more about that and how you have overcome that and being able to build your consultancy.
You know, it took time. I will say, prior to being presented with the severance package, my self esteem, my confidence was at the lowest of the low.
Mm-hmm.
Because let me tell you, if there wasn't anything that I could do, the one thing I knew I could do was be excellent at my job.
Mm-hmm.
Period. You couldn't tell me like I could be excellent at my job. And then when all these things started happening and I saw, okay, slowly but surely, my confidence went down. I
Mm-hmm.
was second guessing myself, very low. And that took a beating, like
Mm-hmm.
mentally. I couldn't really function. I'm like, is this the right thing to do? If not, and I'm coming from a person where I was like the rock star for a
Mm-hmm.
while, and then all of that is just vanishes when new leadership comes in and they have new agendas and they're not telling you what the agenda is. They're just like leading you to believe
Mm-hmm.
that it's one way and then all of a sudden, bam, it's another way and you don't fit in.
Yep.
And they made me feel like I didn't fit in, but what it was, they didn't know where to put
Mm-hmm.
me. There's a difference. So, what I literally had to do, I had to take a 2 months detox, as I say, because it was really workplace trauma that I was going through when I went through it, but it didn't have a name then. It's just something you just kind of suck up, swallowed, and you just dealt with
Yep.
it. But it took 2 months for me just to get myself together after walking out that
Mm-hmm.
door and not looking back. And I had to like lick my wounds and find me again because I was caught up in their agenda. I couldn't even tell you what I wanted to do, what I like to do. And I was someone that always knew I want to go here, and then do this. And I would make it happen, do what I needed to do, put my head down. So after this, I was just literally broken. And I had never been in this place before. And there wasn't anyone for me to really talk to because this was kind of new when it happened to
Mm-hmm.
me. Fortunately, my husband, he was like, look, I need you to be happy. You are the bomb.com. What do you need? Like, what do you need from me? And I had a 6 month severance package. So that 2 months, I literally did nothing. I never did not
Okay.
work. I did nothing to put myself back together. And then finally, my husband was like, all right, now it's been about two
Mm-hmm.
months, tell me what you're thinking about. And I said, you know what? I had my job, not my job, but I had more planning and consulting was a side hustle for
Okay.
me. And the Lord said, you know what? It's time to bet on
Yep.
you. What you think, and this is an old recruiter years ago told me when I wanted to transition. He said, what you think is a stop sign is a mere speed bump. And that always stuck with me. And I said, you know what? I am an excellent strategist. I was the go-to. I had a multifunctional team, managed more than 20 people nationally, internationally. I had learning and development under my belt, marketing under my belt, operations under my belt, all of that, managing like a $4 million budget. Like I could do the things. And I said, you know what? I know what success looks like. I know what it means. And I have helped this organization make millions of
Mm-hmm.
dollars. Why can't I do that for myself and others? Let me repurpose my skills. So I had to find my
Mm-hmm.
superpower again. I had just lost it. They had dimmed my light.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say spiritually, I had to connect with the Lord. He had to pump it back into me. Like it was always there. Now, with my help, you need to bet on you and you need to now take the
Yep.
reins. So once I decided to go full time, I had to rebuild my confidence. So I actually got a confidence coach
Okay.
because I believe you get a coach in the areas where you specifically need help.
Mm-hmm.
That way you can hone in on it. So I got a confidence coach and then I got a profit coach to help me how to teach me how to make money in my business. And between the two of those individuals, I had to learn, okay, let me stand on my own. This is what it means. Tap into my superpower, walk in it, learn how to make money, and then go from there. And then that got me started and built me back up. But it took time.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you, this the trauma, just thinking about it gets me emotional because I had never really been low like that before. And when I tell people that story, they're like, you were nervous? You Yes, sis, I was because they had beat me down so much. And sometimes you don't even realize it because they had me second guessing my talents because it didn't fit in their
Mm-hmm.
agenda. And I'm like, shame on them, but shame on me for forgetting who I
Yep.
am and what I can do. So that was the role that it took for me to repurpose myself and couple the skills that I had and repurpose. And that's why I do what I do today, which is, helping those high achieving professionals transform their expertise
Nice. Awesome.
into sustainable businesses because we have gifts that they don't want us to
Yep.
use, but we need to use so that we can walk in our own greatness and serve and follow through on the assignment that we have. But we sometimes just need that help.
That is
And it's,
really key because what you have just described is how to turn an L into a lesson and turn it into a pivot where you reclaim your power. Because that initial
yes,
devastation is a turning point and you have to make a choice. You have to make a choice.
yes,
And first, you have to be quiet, you have to be silent, you have to go inside and really reconnect with whatever higher power recharges you, I pray that you have one.
Yes.
And that is
Mm-hmm.
how you fill that cup back up. And that's like your Georgia power, right? That is going to
Mm-hmm.
flip the fuse back into what you're here to do. And a lot of times,
Yes.
because women are the financial leaders of their household, so many Black women are. Whether you're pregnant or not, you
Uh,
still have to make a contribution sometimes, or maybe not. I don't know. Speak for
yeah.
myself.
No,
Okay.
I was. No, I was. Like, and that was the hardest decision too.
Hmm.
At the point I was the
Yeah.
breadwinner. And there's a lot of responsibility. You carry the insurance, you're if you're the dominant, person bringing home, the most, there's a lot. And I have a child that has a chronic illness. So there's a lot of things that I had to think about. It wasn't just about me. I had to think about a lot of other things, but I had to also think about my joy, my happiness, because it got to the point where I was miserable going to work every day. A place that I loved going to, I started to loathe going to, getting knots in my stomach. Sunday night before going to work is the worst feeling. And my health was impacted. I was high stress. I mean, it was taking such a toll
Did
on
you have one
me
of those dreams
that
about work too? And you're like, oh my God, get work out of my brain. I can't even rest.
that part, it started to change me for, I mean, in a
Yep.
negative way. Just like I just couldn't find joy in anything because, again, if I couldn't do anything else, I could do my
Yep.
job. And then when you shake that foundation and it has nothing to do with you, it's more them. But you don't know that because you're trying to fit in. You have bills to pay. You're like, what's happening here? What's the shift? So I had to really step back and think. And when I think back to that time, I'm like, wow, if I would have known now what I knew, if I would have known then what I know now. But the lesson that I've learned, I'm now able to help and for others that are struggling and need that little push. And maybe you don't want to walk away right now, but you want a side
Hmm.
hustle. Honey, make that money side hustling
Hmm.
until you ready to turn it to full time. You can do that too. You don't have to always just take that leap all at once. You can slow build to gain that momentum and then make that shift. You have choices, right? It's just knowing who to tap into so that you can be vulnerable, someone that you trust, that you can really be vulnerable to talk to someone who's been through it
Hmm.
emotionally, financially, I mean, spiritually, like it connects all the things. It's not just about your job. It's like your identity. It's everything. And when you can do that and really decide, okay, what choices do I have? And have a support system,
But
right?
first, you
Because it's
have
just
to
not about
break
you.
through the chains of shame. You have
Yeah.
to
Yes.
depart your identity from your job and learn what
Honey,
is your work. Your work and your job are not the same.
they are not. And that was
Hmm.
me. That was me. And I used to people that I would mentor, I would say, my job is not who I am, it's what I do.
Exactly.
It's two different things.
Exactly.
Two different things. And you can walk separately and you can separate
Yep.
them. But honey, at that time of crisis though, when when they're like, everything is crumbling around you and you have no idea, like they don't give you any inkling
Hmm.
sometimes that like it's your turn. But when you see it happening, I knew because there were a lot of changes happening around me, and I knew it was just a matter of time. But sometimes it's how it's done that is the most
Hmm.
traumatic. If you're going to eliminate someone, just tell them.
Hmm.
Just tell them. Don't lead them on. Talk out of two sides, and then all of a sudden, it's just to me. If you work for someone that cares for you, be straight up. Give me time to plan. Don't just short side me or whatever, but that's what we do sometimes. But you have to know your own, I don't even want to say worth, but you just need to know who you are, what choices you have, and make the best decision for you because everybody has a different choice. But understanding the feelings that you have are real and you may feel betrayed, hurt, anger. Just don't sit in it for too
Yep.
long.
And that is
Like,
exactly how you activate what they love to call your villain era. You
Yes.
sometimes you might have to be the bad girl or the bad guy, but that is when you are living in your power and living in your truth. And what we have
Hmm.
learned from this conversation is that getting fired and untimely departure, organizational reshift does not determine what you are capable of. And it most certainly is not the end of your journey in making sure that your work enters the world in its best capacity. And it seems like that is exactly what you do in your consulting practice. So tell us a little bit more about how you have worked with people who have made this pivot into betting on themselves.
Well, how I work with them first is creating a roadmap, right? First time, sometimes you don't know what you want.
Hmm.
So I do a brain dump with them. What's on your mind? What's on your
Hmm.
heart? And we first figure out what are the skills you want to tap into. And then once we figure that out, then I work with them to create a roadmap so they can see how they could turn that expertise into a
Okay.
business. And then with that, what steps they can take to turn it into a business. So I'm just not a consultant that just tells you what you need to do and walk away. I'm going to also help you and hold your hand on how to do it
Wonderful.
so that you can make that happen. That's how I work with people because you don't know what you don't know. And a lot of times when you are turning your expertise into a business, you may not have had the opportunity of leading people. You're just great at your craft, but you don't have the connections to compete. And sometimes you need someone to walk you, hold your hand in that space so that you can understand what it means to lead because it's a different perspective being an individual contributor of just focusing on the thing than it is trying to run a business, lead a team, show up as the CEO, wear all the hats. It's a different ball
Yep.
game. It can be done, but that's the unsexy stuff that people don't sometimes tell you how to do it. They tell you they can do it in like 90 days. Honey, no. I'm just going to let you know, no, it's time. It's time. You have to put in the work. But when you do, you yield the results. So how I help is I just identify what it is that you do, create a roadmap, and then I help you execute that roadmap so that you have a sustainable business where you can rinse and repeat. I'm not a quick kick wonder. If you don't want to put in the work, I am not for you. But if you do, I go along with you on the ride because I know what it's like to not have help and you just want to talk to someone to guide you, someone you trust, and to hold you accountable in the right way. That's what I do. I'm at More Planning and Consulting, and I love it. And I just repurposed my skills of what I did in corporate and flipped them to help small business owners. So, to what you're saying, it's all about reinventing yourself. It's already there. You now have to see yourself as that CEO, as that person, and walk in it, own it, and serve.
Wonderful. I love that. And that most certainly brings us to the end of this episode where I can say, and I know that getting fired is not a failure. It is a redirection. It can even be a rebirth. So if you are someone that has been impacted by layoffs, by again, organizational restructures, or you just got fired because you wasn't feeling it for whatever reason, this can be your next biggest chapter. So do not give up. Miss Sonia here has some resources to help you figure out how to reclaim your power. So tell us a little bit more about your website and how people can find you if they want to take advantage of the expertise that you have to offer.
Yes, so my website is www.morepc-llc.com. But if you want to have a 15-minute transformation call where we just connect and you just give me a quick 411, and if I can help you, I'll let you know, you can go with sharewithsonya.com. And that's literally share with Sonya, SONYA.com. Schedule a 15-minute transformation chat and we'll see what we can do. That's the easiest way.
Awesome. All right. Well, this has been another wonderful episode of the Zanetta Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe, and catch us on the next episode. Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you.
So let's face it, you are in a situation where you got to make some hard choices. Things that are happening around you, such as layoffs, market changes, and other industry changes, can leave you in a situation where you have to make an untimely exit from a job that you once loved. Whatever you decide to do in this next moment, know that God is on your side. Know that you have the capacity to reach out to others and form a sisterhood to rally around you and give the support that you need. Do not go through this alone, sis, okay? Don't. Matter of fact, write me if you need someone to talk to. But getting away from a job that is no longer serving you could actually be a blessing. That's my time, y'all. Bye.